Afternoon, guys. So I hope you had a nice holiday. We are going to look at how to solve quadratic equations graphically. Okay, so there are four techniques in order to solve quadratic equations. You have your factorizing, you have completing the square, you have the quadratic formula, but you also need to be aware of how to solve it graphically. As obviously we're not in class, so we can't be drawing them. So rather than asking you to print out graph paper and draw out graphs that way, we're just going to use Desmos, which is an amazing website with the link in your classroom. And you're just going to draw the graphs and solve it. Super easy, okay? So when you initially go onto Desmos, you should see this. It is something you can download onto your phone. However, I would probably say just use it on the computer, should be fine. Just click on Start Graphing, and then you come up with this, okay? And the way to actually solve it is to split it into two different parts. So we're going to draw one of them. So it's going to be y equals say x squared, take away 2x, take away 2. Okay, so I've drawn that graph right there. So that's literally all you have to do, but you put y equals. So we're going to put, say, y equals, and then you type that in. Okay, and then underneath, what am I going to do to the other side? Well, I've done y equals this, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to say y equals 0. That's this side. Y equals 0. So the points that you need to look at, I've drawn the two graphs. You don't need to worry too much about these steps right here. That's perfectly fine. All I need to do is look at where these two graphs intersect. I'm not sure how clearly you can see it, but if you are doing it by yourself, you should see like these grey dots right here, which are your intercepts. So if I have this intercept, that is giving me the solution. Okay, so let's pop that down. Okay, so one solution I have is x equals 0.732, y equals 0. Okay, and then the second solution is there. Okay, so that would be x equals 2.732, y equals 0. Okay, if any of you are wondering and going, well, that's really easy. Yes, I know it is super easy. Okay, and that's all you need to do. So we've got this graph here, which is the y equals. It's already on there. You could type it down as a different graph. You can make the graphs disappear just by clicking on the actual color graph, or you could just rewrite it. Okay, so once I rewrite it, the graph has actually moved, and then you've got a different point. Okay, in terms of this graph, it is quadratic, so you do expect two answers. This one only has one intersection, so there's only one answer. For those people that are thinking about the high level things, that is called a repeated root. So it's the same answer, it's just the same answer twice, if that makes any sense. Okay, so if there were no intersections, there would be no answers. If there is one intersection, it is a repeated root. And then if there are two intersections like this one, then you would have two sets of answers. So for this one, the intersection is x equals 1, y equals -3. Okay. If you wrote it down as, you could probably see the coordinates there. If you wrote it down as a set of coordinates, that's usually accepted. but you do need to show the understanding that you know that the first coordinate is x and the second coordinate is y, because a lot of people do mess that up. Okay, and for those people, you can see a third question. What do you think we're going to do? I know it seems kind of boring by now, doesn't it? Oh, I've got y equals 0. It's not y equals 0. That was y equals -3. Okay, so this one, I now want y equals x plus 2. So let's pop that in. X plus 2. Okay, you do exactly the same thing. We look at these intersections. So the intersection there is -1 and 1. So that's x equals -1, y equals 1. And then the next set of answers is x equals 4 or y equals 6. Okay, so there's your first set of answers, there's your second set of answers. So by drawing this graphically, this is part of solving quadratic equations. If I was to do it another way, you could just rearrange the whole equation and then draw that, and then it would be the same as this. Okay, so if you rearrange the equation and make it equal 0, you would still get the same answers that you get by drawing these two lines. But because I've drawn the two lines, I've actually solved the quadratic equation using simultaneous equations, okay? So this is the reason why simultaneous equations are amazing, and they are so closely connected to quadratic equations. So I have set the sheet. I have given you some questions. It shouldn't be too hard because Desmos is going to do everything for you. I would probably recommend, if you want to ensure that your note-taking is quite good, that you do take screenshots of this, maybe put it into a Word document and put the answers underneath, okay? So take a screenshot of your graph and then make sure when you take the screenshot that it includes those graphs, if that makes sense. So include that red and blue line. You might not get red and blue. The colors do vary on this graphing. So just make sure you take a screenshot and then you put down the answers and put in some explanation. So if you ever have to do this yourself, then you're able to do it quite easily. Okay, so I'm going to leave it here, but this is, I know it's solving quadratic equations, but you would also see it as solving simultaneous equations as well, because it actually covers both of them graphically. Okay, so hopefully that should be fine. I know it wasn't a very long video, but it's essentially, if you know how to do one, you know how to do them all, okay? All you have to do is learn how to type, which all of you are able to do. Okay, so take care, enjoy the wonderful questions, and make sure you submit them before the end of the day. Okay, toodles.